you very welcome in the name of the European Yoga Union, EUY, who is giving space for this lecture since I think 2 or maybe even 3 years. It's a program of different European countries. It's a free offer of lectures on several topics. In this moment, the general topic is yoga and emotions, and the BD Yoga decided to focus on fear and yoga. So we have been asking for yoga teachers to say something on fear. The other talks are more specific, and as we wanted to invite Sriram and we didn't feel like focusing on a very special topic, we were just asking on fear and yoga. And so I'm very happy, Sriram, that you are here and you will share something. I don't know if I should say something. Sriram has been studying in Chennai with Desikachar and is now teaching almost 40 years in Europe and India. I guess a lot of you know him, so I will not say more. But I would like to announce the Congress in Zinal, the European Yoga Union presents every year, and next year the topic of this Congress is yoga and emotions, and very probably Sriram and Anjali will be there and as guests of honor and share also their experience and knowledge on this topic. Yes. So far, and maybe you can make sure that all the mics, but I think they are all off. And yes, I will switch my one off too. And Sriram, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the invitation, and thank you, the European Yoga Union, because Desikachar, my teacher, has been very close to Gerard Blitz, who was one of the founders of the EYU. He was, they were very close. So they spent a lot of time together, and Desikachar often used to receive Gerard Blitz in Chennai. And of course, Desikachar was also there every year in Zinal over maybe 15 years. And so there is a connection between our tradition and European Yoga Union very much. And I'm happy to be presenting a lecture on their behalf here today. So I've been given a very odd subject, odd because it's not a positive subject, but let us see what there is to fear, where we can say, well, we can learn a lot from it, and we can also maybe even benefit from it or learn other things based on our experience of fear. Now, fear is a very loose word in English because there are many, many scales and levels of fear. One can talk of fear, one can talk of panic, one can talk of anxiety, one can talk of being paralyzed and being totally shocked. So there are lots of layers and lots of sides and facets to the emotion or the word fear even. One of the basic things which distinguishes yoga from maybe modern day psychology or of even our other understanding of human emotions, human mind, and from the religious point of view, from philosophical points of view, etc. One of the most fundamental things which distinguishes yoga is, as we all know, the way it combines the body and the mind. it is very unique. You will not find it in psychology. Maybe psychology has learned a bit from yoga in the last decades. And you will not find this in Vedanta or Indian philosophy or in other forms of Indian philosophy or in Indian religion. And of course, you'll surely not find it in any of the Judaic religions. So, what is this connection? This is the way in which yoga brings the body into a very dynamic way into whatever we look at, whether we are looking at meditation or we are looking at peace of mind or we are looking at the loss of peace of mind. Always the body is involved. We are talking about what is happening to the body, what is the body doing, and in what state has the body gotten into because of the state of mind, or in what way can the body influence the state of mind. So this is a very, very profound discovery, I would say, or not even a discovery, a profound perception. And this is very special to yoga, and it makes yoga the reason. That's the reason why most of us are here doing yoga, learning yoga, and trying to even promote yoga through our teaching work. So where does fear come into this pattern of yoga way of looking at body-mind relationship? So to understand that, first of all, we would have to go into one of the basic sutras, which most of you here know, or many of you would probably know because one of the central sutras in the Yogasutra of Patanjali. It's a sutra which relates fear to something which we can call Shvasa Prashvasa. Shvasa Prashvasa is actually, if you look at the Sanskrit dictionary, Shvasa Prashvasa just means inhale, exhale, or in other words, breathing. But here, in the context of this sutra, in the first chapter of Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, Shvasa Prashvasa here means a sort of breakdown. A breakdown where we can say it's a state of panic. It's a state of the state in which the mind ceases to act, where we are sort of trapped and we are sort of physically paralyzed, one could say, or even mentally paralyzed, where the mind and body stop to work because the breath stops to work. And breath being essential for the body to continue, and breath being essential for the mind to continue, if the breath stops to work, then the mind and body are also arrested. So it's like a seizure. It's an epileptic person getting a fits. So this Shwasa Prashwasa, why does it happen? Or when does it happen? So many of us, maybe all of us will have known some moments of panic in our life, or even may know it very, very often and regularly. So these panic moments are terrible. But these panic moments, if we are really unwell, if we are really, let us say, mentally disturbed or emotionally very upset, or if we have some very problematic physiological condition, this panic attack may come very easily and very fast, and we have no control over it. Like some people getting a panic attack because of some allergies which they have towards certain stuff, certain objects, some condiments, yeah, even. And we can't control this panic attack. But then there is a pattern to this panic attack, and it's very, very important for us to understand fear, to understand this panic attack, the way this panic attack grows. And I have never seen it so beautifully described or suggested anywhere in any literature or in any piece of scientific or psychology based work as in the Yoga Sutra, where it says very beautifully, dukkha daurmanasya angame jayatva shvasa prashvasaha vikshepasah bhuvaha. So it says the symptoms, when we are disturbed, it starts with the heart. It starts with the heart in the sense, the heart, some sort of a constriction, some sort of a unhappiness, some sort of a dissatisfaction. At heart level, we are not open. Something is closing there at the heart level. Dukkha, that closing of space at the heart level is what we call dukkha. The space gets reduced. That is dukkha. Which space? Not the space in our room, but the space within, inside our heart. Yeah, inside our heart. So that space gets reduced. So that can reduce if somebody insults me. It can get reduced if I think, oh, it's going to become very cloudy soon. It's going to rain. It can become small if I think I'm not going to get something which I wish to have, etc. Or it can get small if I think, oh, I've got to walk through this tunnel and it's very dark. So that space gets reduced. It need not get reduced, but it gets reduced sometimes. Why should my space get reduced if I think it's going to rain in an hour? It need not, but it might because of the way I'm tuned to think and all my expectations, etc. So once the space gets reduced, if the mind takes over, then it becomes daurmanas. That means we start to think negatively. We don't just think, oh, it's going to rain. We start to think, oh, the clothes won't dry. Oh, I won't be able to get out. I will get a cold. My children will catch a cold when they come back from school or go to school, etc. All sorts of thoughts will start creeping through our minds, and the mind will become negative. So it's not just as though some external factor is there and it's causing me fear. This external factor is first starting to make me think negatively, lose my faith and lose my trust and think, oh, things are not good. So there is no need, but it'll happen, it can happen. But then what happens is it's not as though we become negative and therefore we start to become scared. No, we start to become negative and then angam ejayatva. The body becomes shaky. So we are not the same person. I might be walking on the road, suddenly seeing a strong wind or dark clouds. My mind says, oh no, it's going to rain. I'm going to get wet. And I'm going to be drenched and I'm going to catch a cold. So not only is my space becoming small and the mind becoming negative, but the body suddenly, there I am walking along the road, peacefully, relaxed, with a straight posture, steadily with my gaze or with my posture steady and my body balanced. And suddenly all these jumbling thoughts and my body starts to falter. And if it doesn't falter, that I fall down, it happens that I tense myself up, I tense my back, I tense my neck, I tense my legs, and I tense my eyes. And maybe I'm going to trip over a stone because I'm too tense and I'm not watching properly because I'm tense. So this Angam Ejayatva is going to happen. Only then Shvasa Prashvasa will hit us. Only then the panic will hit us. So this panic is having its own pattern, how it sort of slowly creeps into our tissues and system and brings us to a point where we cannot breathe anymore properly. And we say, oh, I've got a panic attack. So this is the pattern of what we call fear, the way it grows, the way it expands in our system. So fear is, on the other hand, something where if we are really watchful, we can say, no, I'm not going to become negative. I'm going to remain confident. I'm going to remain neutral. I'm going to be non judgmental. I'm going to be clear in my mind. I'm going to look and watch. So, if in that way I can reduce my confusion and reduce the daurmanas, the negativity in the mind, maybe the fear won't catch me like that. So, this is why it's necessary for us to take it into our hands, to try to address fear at the right moment before the negativity creeps in. But then from the negativity, it becomes also a physical imbalance. Because of the growing negativity, which is gnawing on our body, which is sort of working on our system, we are going to become stiff. We are going to become weak. We are going to become unsteady. We are going to become cramped. So we are looking at our own body, relax, Don't become shifty with your eyes. Don't start to look here and there. Don't you let your body crouch. Stand upright, walk upright, and be steady on your feet. And remember your own asana practice and try to remain balanced on your feet while you walk straight or move straight. Yeah. So in this way, we can, with the help of our understanding of body, try to stop the panic from emerging at all. Yeah. So there is a system. And of course, this is panic at its worst. Panic is fear at its worst. Panic is something where we cannot do anything because we are sort of in the grip of fear. Whereas it is possible to maybe do something about to look at fear from a totally different point of view. So this is one way in which yoga looks at fear. But another way yoga looks at fear is in what. So let's keep this. Let's keep this pattern of how we can address fear, how we can sort of look at fear, how we can see fear grow, and maybe do something about it. Yeah, this is one aspect. The second aspect is fear is in yoga something called abhinivesha. So fear is abhinivesha in the sense a, a quality or a problem which is making us want to be. We are born and we are there. Maybe before we were born, we were wondering whether are we going to be born? Are we going to die on the way? Are we going to be all right when we come out? And will somebody or something be there to take care of us, etc., etc.? So maybe all these fears have been there in us and we want to be there. We want to continue. We don't want to drop dead. We want to continue. So this fear is something which is making us think, I want to continue. I want to continue. Abhinivesha. Nivesha is to enter. Nivesha is to come in. So we have entered. Abhinivesha. At all times, from all sides, we want to continue to enter. We want to continue to be born, in the sense, continue to have that moment where we know we are there, we have come out, and 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 we are not going to drop dead, we are not going to disappear. So this feeling that we want to continue is not a desire, it's a compulsiveness. It's a compulsiveness. So it's very difficult. See, if somebody wants to sell me a beautiful object, they'll have to make me feel, oh, it is good, you get it for yourself, it is beautiful, and it makes your life easier, you'll be happy with it, etc., etc. And I am attracted to it. And somebody tells me, do these postures, take these medicines, and you're going to sleep well. And I'm attracted to it because I have a picture it's going to do work. And we tell children, you go to school, you study this, you study that, and then you'll be a happy person, and then you'll get a good job, and you'll get a good pay, and you'll have a happy retired life, whatever. So we make people believe that something is very attractive by explaining it to them why it is attractive. Whether it is true or not is a different story, but we need to explain to them that it is attractive. They understand that it is attractive, and then they want it. So this is what the advertisement industry does with us. It tells us constantly, "Oh, this is attractive. This is attractive. Why don't you go for it? Why don't you get this?" So in this sense, we are going after things. We are getting attracted. So attraction, raga, needs something to drive us. It needs something to drive us. Whereas fear, abhinivesha, it's there. We want to continue right from the moment we came into this earth, right from the moment we were born. There is no logic behind it. There is no, let us say, flow chart. There is no development to it. There is no graduality about the way it sort of slowly comes and creeps into us. So this sort of a abhinivesha is very complicated. It's not like love and hate. I hate somebody because. I love somebody because. I want this because. I don't want that because. There is no because here. It just happens. So this lack of a reason makes abhinivesha very complicated. So it's very, very seriously bothering us. So tomorrow, if a startup produces a new object, produces a new market which it wants to market, they will come up with all sorts of descriptions why I would need it, why I need to buy it, why it will change my life positively, and they'll try to market it to me, and I will listen to them, and maybe I'll fall for it, and I will buy it. Yeah, maybe. So they would need a lot of conviction to do it. Or some political party will come and say, oh, we are going to set everything right and we shall do it differently. We'll do it differently. We are not going to bring these problems. We're going to bring different problems. Sorry, we are going to bring totally different things. So this is our agenda. If we come, we're going to do all this and look at all this. These are the things which you are really missing out on. And therefore, we'll supply it for you. So they give us a lot of promises, and we think, yes, this party sounds good, and we'll do it. They'll work for the future, they'll work for better pay, they'll work for better jobs, they'll work for a better climate, they'll work for whatever, yeah? For more rights, etc. But then somebody can come and tell you, oh, if you don't do it, if you go there, you're going to suffer. If you go there, something is going to happen to you. There are all these things there. There are all these people here. They're going to spoil your life. They're going to wreck your life. There are all these problems here, and all these people. They're just out to kill you and to make your life horrible. So be careful. They are going to spoil it. So you vote for me. So the easiest way of manipulating people also is by working on their fear, not by working on. Let's say I'll give you this promise. I'll promise you this. I promise you that. I promise you that. So whether I'm building a political party, so if I'm promoting a political vision, all I have to do is to promote fear. Easiest way to promote a political agenda is to promote fear. The easiest way to promote a medical treatment is to promote fear. The easiest way to dominate a child and to is to promote fear in the child. The easiest way to dominate a partner or a friend or a enemy is to inculcate fear into the other person. Because fear doesn't need anything. You can just tap on it on the fear of the people. It's very easy to go for the fear of the people. So this makes it terrible. And it's exactly what we see in the political scene, in the social scene today. Parties without agenda, the only agenda is all this is dangerous. You're getting your rights are being taken away from you, and your freedom is being taken away from you. So there is no agenda. You don't need the agenda because you have said fear, and therefore people will follow you. So go ahead, just put fear into people and they'll follow you. So this is what is happening. This is what is happening at a social level, at a political level, but also within homes, where we put fear into our children, or put fear into our partners, or put fear into others. And this is the fear which is, of course, working within us. We are having that fear. So, to address this fear, which is very, very deep, much more deep than raga, desire, much more deep than hatred. It's such a deep fear that even as Yoga Sutra says, samarudaha, aruda, people who have really sort of gone great heights, people who have really scaled the heights of spirituality, even they are prey to it. Even they cannot get it off their neck easily. So fear is a very, very basic problem. So to understand this fear, only one thing can help, and that is clarity of mind. Only clarity of mind can help. So we have to see for ourselves. If person A, if I tell my 5 or 6 year old, if I tell a 5 or 6 year old child, oh, that is dangerous. If you do that, you're going to fall and you're going to have terrible pain and you won't be able to sleep and you'll suffer, etc., etc. It's easy. The child cannot do anything because the child cannot distinguish so easily whether it's true or not what I'm saying. But if a politician or a social worker or an elderly person comes and tells you, a grown up human being, this is scary, don't do it, you better really see if it is true. So it's very important for us to know and really see whether it is true or not what is being told. Whether it is at a personal level, in a question of a personal relationship and at a personal level, or it's a social, political level. We really have to know what is fear. So naturally, there are things which we have to fear. If a tsunami rolls on here, we'll have to have fear. We'll have to climb to the top of the nearest peak, whatever it is, whether it's the top floor of your building or the top of a hill, you have to go there if there is a tsunami approaching. So you have to see even there. So I'm not saying fear is wrong, that fear is basically a problem, but why Abhinivesha becomes a problem? Abhinivesha is there. I want to continue. But then, based on this wish of mine to want to continue, somebody comes and manipulates me. Somebody comes and dominates me. Somebody comes and tells me the most horrendous lies and gets away with it. And the more you lie, the easier it is to become powerful. Yeah, nowadays. Yeah. So in that sense, it's very, very important for us when this avidya or sorry, abhinivesha starts to grow, that can counter it only with clarity. Because what is abhinivesha? According to yoga, it is a klesha. It is either prasupta, tanu, vichinna, or udara. It's either very small, and if it's very small, it doesn't matter. It's there. I want to live. I don't want to fall down and break my head or break my knee. I want to live freely and properly. So, in a small way, that fear is there. Or I have some fear. Oh, today the weather doesn't look too good. Maybe I should wear a little more. And I take care of myself a little too much. It's okay. It's a little too much of fear, but it doesn't matter. It's not a big problem. But I have such fear that I believe somebody who's speaking falsehoods. Or if I start fearing because I'm full of false beliefs, then it becomes udara, it becomes very strong. So the only way to counter this avidya is through vidya or proper knowledge. So proper knowledge, real understanding, clarity is very, very important, especially for us in a time where we are surrounded by a lot of falsehoods, where it's very, very easy for us to come to procure or to get falsehoods, which is all masked as beautiful in beautiful designer colors and what do you call them, fonts, etc., etc. So you cannot distinguish them so easily. We are not so smart, but we have to be watchful. So this is one basic, another basic aspect of what we call fear in yoga. Yeah, abhinivesha. So you have what I said earlier, shvasa prashvasa, or this breaking down of the breath as a result of a panic, where the breath doesn't function anymore, where the body is unsteady, etc. That's one type of fear we are talking about. And we are talking about another, it's not a different type of fear, but we're also talking about fear from this angle as an abhinivesha, as an absolutely self emanating out of itself, growing out of itself, a sort of automatic mood, an automatic emotion, an emotion which doesn't need any outer trigger. This abhinivesha, and how at a very small level it is okay. We don't let it grow, and the only way of preventing it from from growing is to make sure that we evolve a little more clarity. There is a third aspect to fear. And this word, I mean, there's no differentiated word for it, but there is this word called bhaya in Sanskrit. Actually, bhaya is the usual colloquial word for fear. Even in Sanskrit, you use the word bhaya when you talk of fear. But then when we talk about bhaya, there are two types of bhaya. There is a bhaya which you or your best friend or your best doctor or your mother or your whatever, your all the power of all your money, etc., cannot give. It's a protection against fear which all of these cannot give you. Not even your mother, not even the biggest amount of money which you may have, not even the best doctor in the world who may be at your feet. It's a bhaya, it's a fear which can only be taken away from us through a force which is depending on something outside us. So we can call this force hope. We can call this force faith. We can call this force godly intervention, a protective mantle of God, of the goddess. But there is an aspect to bhaya where we can say a certain bhaya can only be removed or mitigated or reduced in us by an intervention which is from some force outside of us. And we have to look at this force. We have to sort of give attention to this force. We have to sort of maybe even supplicate to this force or revere it. Revere it. Yeah. So it's important for us to be aware that there is such a force. So this force, to give it a little space in our system is very, very important. So we have to give a place for it in our system. So if there's no space at all, then we are never going to sort of have it help us or have it sort of have it light, throw its glorious light or its protective light on us. So it's like a button. You need to have the switch ready or the light ready so that you can switch it on when you need it. So the light should be there. So if it's not going to be there, then it's going to be a problem. So we have to have the light ready in our apartment, in our building, or in this case, it's in our own system, which we call our human body, human mind, etc. So this protective light, this protective force, which is like a bulb, which is like a source of hope within us, has to be cultivated, has to be set up. So without it, it's not possible because we cannot traverse or eradicate bhaya. It's just not possible because it's part of human system. It's part of the system of every living being. So maybe not trees, maybe not plants, but every moving creature, whether it is a small ant or it's an elephant or a human being. So we are all susceptible to it and we all would need this external force, this sort of source. I mean, it's a source outside of us because you may have God within you, or light within you, or hope within you, or faith within you. But to switch it on, it's very difficult without being connected. You need some sort of a grid from which the power flows. The grid from which the power flows is not within you, it's definitely outside you. Maybe the grid is the nature. So the grid is not necessarily, is surely not something which is absolutely abstract and sort of some God in heaven who's not reachable, who's just a myth, maybe, you know. So we are not talking about a myth. We are talking about something, a grid, a common grid from which we all, you and me and every elephant and every tiger and every dog and every cat and every ant, links itself. So this grid from which we have to draw this current, which we call hope or faith, we have to lock ourselves into it, and for that we need the switch. Yeah. So I mean, sorry. So that for that we need a switch. So the switch is a connection between the outside grid and me, and so I'll have to turn it on. So otherwise, Bhaya will not go. So there is an aspect to look at it from the other side. It would mean the moment I think I've got everything in my hands, I'm controlling everything, I'm in charge, and I'm making sure that I'm working perfectly. I don't leave out anything. And I'm a human being and I work perfectly and I got everything under control. So the moment this feeling of I have everything under control comes, then somewhere very mildly, very minutely, this fear will be working within our psyche. Because ultimately we cannot control everything by ourselves. It's not possible. Because even if you look at it in a very material, logical way, we were controlling since 200 years, we are controlling nature, and suddenly, we have climate change. Who anticipated that all these changes, that all these discoveries, and all these, what do you call, the way we removed energy from the earth, from all the fossil fuels, and the way we tap the waters, etc. Who imagined that it'll produce a climate change? Because everything is connected with everything else. It's all a huge grid. So it's not possible for us to be perfect. So since we are imperfect, since we are necessarily imperfect, and since it will never be possible for us to be perfect, since it will never be possible for us to control the earth or the life around us, we need to have some fear. And it's a healthy fear. But listen, the problem is when we are talking about fear, please have fear of this and not fear of the neighbor, not fear of old age, not fear of pain, not fear of loss of something. There is much greater. So sometimes life moves in subterfuges. Instead of fearing the real thing, we are fearing something small, which we have replaced with the major thing we ought to be scared about. So it's like I'm scared about my shoulder and arm all the time because I don't want to think about my heart, which is very weak and which has got a lot of problems. I'm worried all the time about whether my doorstep is clean, doorstep is clean, doorstep is clean, because I don't want to worry about the unclean thoughts in my mind or the major problems I'm having in my mind. So in this way, it's better we have fear about the real thing than about the small things. So in yoga, that's why the word Bhaya Bhakti is used, a bhakti which is combined with Bhaya, a sort of great reverence which is combined with fear. So we go into that space, then we are probably much more free from fear itself. Yeah. So that is yet another aspect of the word or the idea of fear in yoga. Yeah? So I've given you three ideas of how we can look at fear in yoga. So maybe if before I continue further, if there are questions from your side, I would answer one or two questions and then proceed. Yeah. If there are any questions, please do the needful. Maybe give a sign, unmute, and start.
Sriram,
Yeah.
may I pose a question?
Yeah, please.
Yes. For me, fear is on one side emotion,
Yeah.
but abhinivesha is not an emotion. It
Yeah.
is a deeper structure. Or
Yeah.
so it is differently treated.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah. So fear, abhinivesha, is a klesha, meaning something which is very deep within us, within our psyche, and therefore not easy to sort of think away or remove. Of course, we can't remove it at all. But even to sort of think we can manage it, we can sort of control it, etc., it's not so easy. But fear, if you take as an emotion, it may be something different, but it is one of the most fundamental emotions in us human beings. Because without fear, we would not survive. In sense, a certain amount of fear has a role to play in our psyche, prevents us from doing things which may be problematic for us. Like if I'm running on the road, a certain fear where I'm a little careful how I run so that I don't run into a car or into a cycle. So a certain amount of fear is safeguarding us. So in that sense, fear is something which is very essential for our survival. It is because of the fear of the winter that animals start to store food for the winter. And maybe we human beings are our forefathers too. They started storing food because they knew it is fearsome. But that fear which is there has rationality behind it. It's thoughtful behind it. But still, it's that thought, oh, the winter is going to come. Maybe it's going to come a month or a few weeks earlier. I have to be very fast. And there is, of course, a little bit of that fear there. And that fear is making this person work harder and try harder, or this animal to try harder and work harder and to get more food to store for the winter. So fear is giving mobility, is like a motor, is driving the person to do things. So in that sense, fear has a very positive role. So fear as an emotion is not necessarily something bad. But the problem is, as I said, Abhinivesha can be very small. It is good. Why not? I want to be, and I want to make sure I want to be. But if it becomes a sort of compulsive behavior, Prasupta, Tanu, Vichinna, Udara, it's called in Yoga Sutra, a klesha which is very, very tiny like a seed, or it's a plant and or a wild bush, or it's really a very dangerous thorny bush which I can't even walk through, and it's totally trapping me. So Abhinivisha, if it goes to that extent, it's going to be a problem. So this way, fear too, as an emotion, has a very, very positive role to play. Only if it becomes something else, then it is not that fear anymore. So fear in its crudest or in its pure level is very welcome. But if fear is combined with blindness, it becomes a problem. Fear combined with clarity is not in a problem. But of course, who is clear? Am I clear? This is a question we have to answer, and maybe we are thinking we are clear, but not really clear. So that way we'll have to watch out. Yeah. But still, fear is an emotion which can take us into spaces where we become totally irrational, where we start seeing things, where we start becoming foolish, where we start becoming irrational, where we start to hate others or put blame on others, etc., etc. Then fear is connected to a lot of wrong knowledge, wrong understanding, and fear makes us depressed. Fear makes us excited. So if I have a certain amount of fear and I can make sure that rajas, overexcitement, and tamas, being shocked and scared and not wanting to see, not wanting to open the eyes, if I can control the effect of rajas or tamas when there is fear, then that fear is not a problem. But whenever you see fear working in you in a problematic way, you can be sure either tamas or rajas has gone out of hand. So we have to balance it with some sattvic thoughts, with some sattvic activity, with some sattvic, with some sattvic quality which we give our breathing, with some sattvic conversations, or in the company of things which are sattvic and which excite the sattvic quality in our minds. It's necessary.
Thank you.
Pause 1 second, I'll open, close it.
So I have also a question.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Wanted to share that sometimes I'm not able to discover my own fear. So later, maybe a day later or a few time later, I recognize, oh, this has been fear. Maybe the next time I will behave in another way. But even sometimes I do not, or a person is not able to discover his own or her own fear. So that's the way you talked about clarity, isn't it? So, but if a person didn't is aware about her or his own clarity or not clarity, so there's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, it is. It is. See, of course, clarity is an answer, but it does not mean that we'll always know whether we are clear or not. But when we are going into fear, it is necessary to stop and see, are we clear for some. I think you have to shut off your mic or somebody has to shut. Oh, now it's okay. So I think the moment we get into fear, it is necessary for us. So we get into fear because of, let's say, a social fear, saying somebody, oh, you got to be scared and you need to be scared, and therefore you vote our party because everything is going wrong and you need fear because things are going so bad, it's going to become so worse. You need fear. If this fear is being imposed on me like this, who knows? There might be truth, but I'll have to stop and really think: is it true that there is something to be feared? Is it true that things are really this, the way it's being portrayed? Yeah. So I have to learn to distinguish between what is truth and what is false. Otherwise, it is not possible. So I'm not saying that if you try to give an answer, what is true and what is false, you'll immediately know what is true and what is false. We might still be misunderstanding, but we have to put that effort. As long as there is fear, don't base your action or your reaction on that fear, but first try to gain a little bit more clarity and then rethink. And that's important. See, supposing a small child comes to me, your own child comes to you and says, I'm scared. You would try to rationalize with the child. You would try to reason with the child. You would try to explain to the child that it need not be scared. But if you try to tell a child, you need not be scared, you just go to the school, nothing will happen. The child might get scared because it's not as though nothing will happen in the school. In a school, anywhere in the world, lots of things can happen which are not good for the child. So you'll also have to tell the child what steps to take, if how to behave, how not to behave, how to protect itself. So in this sense, we give some strategies to the child, don't we? So in the same way, we need some strategies. We need to look and have a strategy what we do. So it is necessary. Otherwise, we will get sort of sucked into the fear which everybody is propagating.
So yeah, the
Yeah, please.
45 minutes, you don't need it, no? It's now.
Oh, okay. I see. Fine. Yeah. So if there are more questions, yeah, please go ahead.
I also have a question.
Please.
You spoke about this relationship, in special relationship in yoga between body and mind.
Yeah.
If we are fearful for a very long time,
Yeah.
what effect does this have? I imagine we probably get sick, maybe other effects too.
See, the yoga has done good in recognizing this relationship between, or not not even relationship, recognizing that the body is is reacting to all that whatever happens in the mind, yeah, in emotional level, etc. So we can say if there is fear very long, for a long time, we continue to have a fears, it's going to do something to my body. But one cannot say it is going to do that to my body, because we have lots of types of fears. We have fears which are connected with our personal health. We have fears which are connected with people who are outside us. We have fears connected with, oh, do I have enough to eat? Do I have enough money to buy my food and have a good place to stay? Or we have fears which are less rational, maybe more from a psychological, from a very deep kick level, where we have fear of unknown things, of people who have traumatized us, etc. So there are lots of types of fears. So one cannot say each of these types of fears is going to react in a different way to the body. But there are certain weak points of the body where fear usually sort of takes hold of us. One is definitely the eyes. And it's I mean, of course, clarity does not mean eyes. Clarity means mind. But still, the eyes as something which make us look at the world, see things properly, the eyes cease to function normally. I do not mean that then I'll have to wear specs, or people who have specs have more fear or something. Not at all. That will be very foolish to make such judgments. But it's just that when we are in the throes of fear, when we are sort of trapped in fear, our eyes are almost like I was used the word epileptic, like a fits. They get trapped. They get sort of fixed. So this is one area of the body which definitely responds to fear. And because it's the eyes, the neck also responds. I mean, because it's the eyes, and the eyes are related to that part of the body, the part of the spine, which is the neck. And therefore it responds. Yeah. So fear is something which very, very often having an effect on our neck and on our eyes. I would say, from my experience, I would not say this as a sort of what do you call statement which can be taken 100% true. But out of my own experience and observation, I would say this is one area where the eye and neck, which fear definitely impinges upon. The other is, see, what a, basically we human beings, we protect ourselves, yeah, when we see danger. We protect ourselves emotionally, we protect ourselves psychologically by not looking at something or not answering. Like somebody, you feel somebody is dangerous and somebody is not a good person, and you feel that person is dangerous for you, you protect yourself by not going to the person or not seeing the person. Yeah, this is very normal. Or if somebody really comes to attack physically, you will also protect yourself. And whenever we protect ourselves, we'll more or less always protect the central part of our body. And one of these central parts of our body is our abdomen, is our stomach, our abdomen. So we'll be, that central part of our body, we will be trying to protect, we'll be trying to sort of safeguard, and we'll tense ourselves there. Maybe if we are trained, let us say, if we are trained in martial arts or some fighting skills, maybe we will use this knowledge to protect ourselves better. But if we are reacting in a bad way, maybe we'll just cramp ourselves in our stomach. And therefore, this is another part of the body which can get affected very easily if we get into fear, namely the abdomen. And whatever goes with it, loose motion or stomach pain or whatever, all things which can happen there in the abdominal area. So these are two areas of the body which get particularly damaged when we get into fear. Yeah. But as I said, it can happen elsewhere in the body also. But the thing is, if you are having fear and you know that you are having fear, it would be very, very important to look at the body, see where you cramp yourself. And you can be sure, let us say, you would walk in the night through your city, through a tunnel, and think, oh, I'm scared, I don't like it at all. You're either scared or you don't like it, or anyway, there's some sort of a nausea or fear in you, and you want to walk through that place. So, theoretically, if somebody would be next to you and observe you, let us say, and it's only hypothetically, the way you were walking before you started entering the tunnel and the way you walking after you exit the tunnel, what has happened to your body? If you can either look at it yourself, or if somebody who knows you is walking with you looks at you, maybe can make an observation of how your body had changed during this span of, let's say, 100 meters where you were walking through some unsafe space. So moving through unsafe space does something to our body. What has it done to my body? We can observe it. Can try to observe it. Maybe you're going to hold your belly tight and cramp your stomach muscles. Maybe you're going to do something totally else. Maybe you're going to clench your fingers like this, clench your fingers like this and feel upset. So, or even they clench the teeth. So we'll have to see what we have done. So in this sense, it's important to also look at it, because yoga tells us there is a connection and we can work. The next day when you do your asana practice or your yoga practice, you can make sure that you stay relaxed in these places, whether you're doing back bending or forward bending or twisting or headstand or inverted postures, whatever.
I would like, is there still time to say something?
Yeah, I think so.
I would like to say that the way I see it and also the way you describe it, sometimes fear is not a rational thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it seems to me that it cannot be treated at a rational level.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, I think practice is very important. Because as you said, practice is a sattvic situation that we create. And in a way, mostly through breath, we can get to a point, well, the Upanishads say that that breath comes directly from the self. And it's the manifestation, the expression of the self in the body.
Mm-hmm.
And I have the feeling that sometimes when through practice, you get to a point where your breath becomes very, very subtle.
Mm-hmm.
And you are in contact with something in yourself that which you cannot define, but you sort of experiment, which is very mysterious.
Mm-hmm.
The presence, something inside yourself that is stable and calm. If you go through this experience, you go back to reality in a different way. And maybe if you do this many, many times and regularly, as you do it in practice,
Mm-hmm.
something can change. You get a new confidence when you have fear, and maybe you have less fear, or you can sort of face it in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
This, for me, I really think it's the only way somehow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's an
And
absolutely important way. Yes. Yeah. Great. Yeah.
and well, it reminds me of what you've just said. You can just, well, in a way, you can just sort of surrender to a greater force, which I think this, and so I have a question there,
Mm-hmm.
and it is, I have a feeling, and when I'm getting to this state through practice, I touch a part of myself which the text called Purusha or Drashtu or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember Desikachar used to say that within the heart, there is a mind, there is Purusha, and there is Ishvara.
Mm-hmm.
And do you think we can get through? I think the level I get to is Purusha.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there is a way you can get through your heart to Ishvara, which is to me a more abstract concept?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. See, the thing is, whether you're talking of mind or Purusha or Ishvara, they are all beyond the five senses. Yeah.
Hmm.
If you look at Sankhya, you have the five senses, and above them you have the mind.
Hmm.
Buddhi, Ahankara, Manas. Yeah, the mind.
Hmm.
And Yoga Sutra calls it Chitta. So the Chitta or the mind is above or beyond the five senses. So therefore, it doesn't belong to the usual category of things which you can see, smell, hear, taste, or feel. Yeah. So in that way, Purusha and Ishvara and mind are similar to each other. Yeah. So if you look at the word mind, mind is, if you look at mind, it is something very abstract. And what also very, very special to yoga is another very deep connection which yoga sees is the connection between the mind and the breath. Yeah. See, the thing is, I am breathing, it's my breath, it's my lungs, it's my diaphragm, but it's air. And the air is outside my body, it's outside my skin, it's outside my nostrils, it is at the outside my tongue and lips. So that air outside and that air which is within my mouth, air which is outside my nostrils, and air which is within my nostrils is all air. So in that sense, when we talk of breath, we are talking about something where we are connected to the outside very much. And it's not like I'm walking on the earth. So here I am and the earth is there. I'm walking on the earth and the earth is an object. But when I'm talking about my breath, that connection becomes almost, not really very clear. It's very much very loose, and it's constantly going in and out. And therefore, whether the wind is moving the leaves in the trees, or the clouds in the sky, or it's moving the air within me, or moving the air within me, moving my mind, the breath is very closely connected to the outside, but the mind is even more closely connected to the outside, because the breath is coming from outside, the wind is coming from outside, and this wind is moving the wind within me, and this wind is moving the mind, etc. So all these three are located. Therefore, to really have an understanding of good breathing and of good mind, we need to be in sort of sync, or in some sort of a vibe, in some sort of a harmony with the outside. So we have to, see, if you do asanas, whether the body, of course, there is wind, sometimes it's windy, it is cold, it is hot, etc., etc. But if you do pranayama, you're more directly connected to the spaces outside you. And your mind, if you're shutting it off, if you want to make it quiet, you are very much dealing with what is outside, because that mind and this mind, they have to all become quiet. So working on the mind is very much also working on the outside. So what I want to say is that, starting from the breath, especially with the mind, but even more so with Purusha, it might be a very personal Purusha, but this Purusha is not disconnected to that Ishvara. It's not fully disconnected to that Ishvara. It's a Vishesha Purusha. So the idea of a totally self-contained Purusha just does not exist. My Purusha is my Purusha, and your Purusha is your Purusha. If I become free, it does not mean you are free. If you become free, it does not mean I'm free. Therefore, there is a distinction between the Purusha in you and Purusha in me. Therefore, there is a distinction between the breath in you and the breath in me, the mind in you and the mind in me. But this Purusha does not stand without the connection. That's why I said you have to be linked to the grid outside. And therefore, it's always it is within you, maybe that Ishvara, but it cannot be within you if you're not connected to the outside grid. You cannot feel it, you cannot see it, you cannot sense it, you cannot even talk about it. Yeah. But that idea which you brought about practice and breath, which is very important, because breath is something which is at the core of fear. That's why Yoga Sutra already in the first chapter talks about panic and breath.
Mm.
Because when we die, we all don't want to die. We abhinivesha, we want to continue. But when we die, when we are close to death, it's breath which is going to become a problem. We are not going to breathe. We are not going to get air. We are going to die of asphyxia or suffocation. Yeah.
Mm.
We're all going to die at some point of some sort of a suffocation, most of us. Yeah. So it is normal, which means this is how life ends, with the breath. Yeah. So breath is something which is very closely connected to living, and therefore to this idea of abhinivesha, of continuing. So to understand breath is also to be able to tackle fear a little better. Yeah.
Thank you.
So I just saw, since other questions? No. Yeah, okay, there was one question. So maybe you put the question and then we'll. No. So it's just one thought I would like to add to all this once more, to come back. Humankind was fearing nature, because, let us say, We don't know. Suddenly an eclipse comes, we think, oh, the sun is gone and sun is not going to come anymore. Or one year there is no rain at all and we think, oh God, there's no rain at all and we won't be able to survive. Or some river dries up and we don't know whether that river is going to get filled again and we think we won't have any water to drink. So we human beings know fear and we have learned to deal with fear. And we've also seen that we can trust. We can trust the clouds. We can trust trust the evening that there will be a morning. We can trust the winter that it will bring a summer or a spring. We can trust sort of a disease that it will go away and again bring in hope and health. We can trust even grief and pain that one day it'll become less or we'll be able to tackle it better or it'll even disappear. So we are learning to cope with fear. We have learned to cope with fear over millennia, over so many thousands and thousands of years of life, based on a certain hope, yeah, based on a certain hope, but also based on observation which has gone on with this hope. We have observed, our parents have observed, our grandparents have observed, generations of human beings before us have observed. And based on this, we have a certain faith and we continue to tackle fear or to sort of handle fear, which is good. And we have continued to do things like we can hide, we can jump onto trees, we can run, so we know how to protect ourselves if there is danger. And we have learned also here to protect ourselves from danger, and therefore we have learned. So we have moved away even in this sense. And we have discovered medicines where we have fought against diseases and we have moved forward and we know how to cure if somebody gets tuberculosis or typhoid or whatever, and we develop medicines and therefore we have less fear, etc., etc. So there's been a sort of slow and constant sort of fighting against fear over many, many, many thousands and thousands of years of human life. We have been fairly successful. But it's necessary for us to stop and think if we are less fearful as human beings today than 1 century ago or 500 years ago. It is very necessary for us to think whether this fear is less. So if the answer is yes, then it's good. Then it's fantastic. I would have lived 60 years. Now maybe I'll live 90 years because I'm living 500 years later. And today the life expectancy is much more. So I have less fear of old age, maybe. Maybe. But then I have more fear of old age because I'm thinking, oh, if I'm old, then there will be nobody to protect me. And maybe I'll not be fit in my mind. My body will function, but my memory will fail, etc., etc. So fear continues in some way or the other all the time. So unless we are going to maintain our clarity, someone is going to take charge of us, because fear is very good soil for people to manipulate others. So manipulation can happen very, very easily where there is fear. So it is in our hands. It's in our hands to fight for clarity, not fight against fear, but fight for more clarity. Fear doesn't matter. Fear is there and fear is part of our psyche. Fear is part of our human experience. We have to control it. We have to reduce it. We shouldn't let it grow. But then we need clarity. We cannot put faith as a sort of answer against fear, because faith has to come with clarity. Christianity has said for many centuries, the priests have said, you give the money to the church, you do this for me, and then you'll go to heaven. You don't have to have any fear. So that faith did not come with any clarity, did not come with truth. So we need clarity, or we need faith with clarity, hope with clarity. So faith which is fake, a faith which is sort of based on lies, on misconceptions and misunderstanding, that faith is useless. We have to throw it overboard. That faith will not help against fear. It's only a sattvic faith which will help, not a rajasic faith, not a tamasic faith. So faith has to have a sattvic base, then it can help. So to go into that sort of a faith and clarity is much, much more interesting than sort of trying to fight fear. So don't try to fight fear. Fight for more clarity based on faith based on clarity. And this faith based on clarity will prevent us from becoming vulnerable. Otherwise, we are vulnerable because people are going to manipulate us with their fake lies. And this is going to increase because we don't have the problem of the cave people 5,000 years ago that we don't know if winter comes, whether the summer is going to come again. Because we have all the information now. We have the information that summer is not going to come. We have the information that summer is going to come. We have the information that summer is going to come tomorrow. We have the information that summer is going to come in 2 years. We are getting the information that summer will come, but only for some people who vote this party. So what will we do? So have faith, but have clarity along with that faith, and don't believe blindly. It's very, very dangerous, especially since we have so much of information. I think it is a social call. And it is a very important social call because otherwise we are doomed as individuals. I don't know what will happen to society on a large scale, whatever can happen, anything can happen. It's true, it may also get doomed, but that's not the problem. We will get doomed if we fall into the trap and get into that based on the wrong informations we are being sort of drowned in. Yeah, I think that's a very important thought when we are speaking about fear. I want to say. And of course, we all have, we are all, none of us really alone in this planet, none. I mean, some of us might be born as single children and the parents are not living anymore and we don't have a partner, let us say, a typical situation where somebody feels really lonely. I mean, where one could feel lonely, but we're not really alone. There are lots of people, lots of human beings, lots of living beings. I mean, animals and other living creatures, including plants and trees and forests and nature. And there are, of course, the forces around us, the elements and the forces around us, which is all part of a complete system. And we are only part of this complete system. So, in fact, we can feel protected and complete. So, it's not just you and your partner or you and your family which makes a unit. It is each one of us in the entire system which makes a unit. So if we get to a feeling of that, we need not feel lost and alone. And if we are only relying on let's say, for instance, in a social political situation or in a family situation where you feel all of us who belong to the same family, all of us who belong to the same type of political thinking, or all of us who believe in the same social values. So we can, I mean, it's good to have one's family. It's good to have one's community. It's very important. It's very helpful. But ultimately, all these communities and families and units, they are never really complete. They are complete, they are helpful as units for certain tasks. For instance, a family as a unit can be helpful for certain tasks, like having a common kitchen or a common house or a common financial setup or whatever, or a common emotional exchange, etc. But ultimately, we have to align ourselves to a much larger space. Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to say that before, we leave that topic of fear. Yeah. I see there's a question. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Sriram, for explaining everything to us. I wonder, in the context you've just said now in the last minutes, because you mentioned in the beginning that it's so important in the times we live right now to get proper knowledge. And now also with the connection of we have to fight for clarity and but I wonder how do we get proper knowledge when we know at the same time that our view is so biased and so subjective. So, for example, me being a white person, so my view is very limited. And how can I find clarity in this? This is very challenging to find proper knowledge when my perspective is not the only one in the world, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, maybe you can say something about it.
At one level, of course, let us say there is a narrative, there is a way of looking at society and world and politics over the last few hundred years, which has been completely dominated by the European way of thinking, or the white man's way of thinking, so to say, So this has dominated the thinking worldwide, and therefore all of the white people, but also all of the non-white people, our thinking is all colored by this way of looking, which has very much dominated because it's been politically powerful. It has changed our lives and it has given us the lifestyle which we are all leading today, etc. So it has, therefore, the way we look at things is always biased, and therefore it's biased from this point of view. And so it's right what you're saying. And let's say you as a white person, maybe even more having a bigger problem because you've seen it as the only way to see it. Whereas maybe a non-white person has seen other ways, but says this is the dominating view, this is a correct view, and it's a better view, and it's a view which I'm representing because I'm living in today's world. But this colored person has seen another view, therefore there is maybe a little more doubt about the own perspective. So the very fact that I as a colored person or I as a non-colored person, I mean white person, have a doubt is a starting point to say, do not just take things as you see it. You have to question it. Yeah. So at that level, it becomes very important. So see, in life, it's not about having the right answer, but it's about questioning whether your answer is right or not and trying to approach the right attitude or right answer. So we can never be sure whether we are free from avidya, but to try to move away from avidya is very important. So I can never be sure that I'm not in avidya, even if I'm much more clear than I was. So this is a problem which will happen to all of us. So whether you're So you have two problems. Let's say you have a problem being a white person, being in a dominant view, whether you don't know whether it's the right view. But then you have a view, you have a personal problem, so to say, in the sense of a personal dilemma that you, as Clara, you may not be having because of your own confusion or distraction or weaknesses or lack of experience in a particular subject. You might be having some non-clarity. So, and you'll be having non-clarity not only as you as a human being, not only you as a white person, but also you as maybe a woman, you as a sort of a woman from, let us say, the western part of Europe and not from the eastern part of Europe, etc., etc. So we all, not only you, but each of us, me as an Indian, me as somebody else as black or whatever country, as a poor person, rich person, we all have our limitations based on so many facets we are carrying. So we all have to struggle to approach clarity, and none of us ultimately yoga. See, doing a yoga practice doesn't mean I'm 100% sure I've come to clarity or coming to a point where you can say it's 100% sure clarity. It's a questioning, it is a trial, it is an effort. So it's an abhyasa. Again and again, you have to keep doing it again and again. So that you are there at this nirodha, at this absolute clarity, it's a path. So that you need this abhyasa, doing some things again and again. But on the other side, you need to have some detachment, some vairagya, detachment about how you look at things, detachment about regarding what benefits you get from what you have learned. So some sort of detachment is also necessary. Then maybe our clarity or nirodha will slowly increase. So I would suggest don't get put away with not having deep clarity or deep enough clarity because you are having your limitations. But try. We have, of course, you as a privileged person, or each of us sitting here as privileged people in whatever way we are privileged, and we are all privileged who are sitting here in some way or the other. It is important for us to understand that because we are privileged, we are thinking of things in a certain way, the way we are thinking. But because we are privileged, we have a better chances of rectifying somebody who is being dominated by misinformation. We have a task. So maybe we can view it that way also.
Thank you.
Please go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, 10.
Hi. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to phrase this, but originally when you were talking about the third type of fear, and you brought
Yeah.
up the word baya,
Yeah.
one of the comments you made that really struck me, because sometimes I like to see like how do I respond
Yeah.
when you're saying something, was this idea about the grid
Mm-hmm.
and this need to connect with the grid
Yeah.
and how it's outside of us,
Mm-hmm.
that it's not inside us.
Yeah.
And what kind of came up to me right away, that's a perceptual issue.
Mm-hmm.
And that's maybe one of the underlying problems in us
Mm-hmm.
is this perception that it's outside of us.
Mm-hmm.
And of course,
Mm-hmm.
I think the average mind,
Mm-hmm.
and certainly even my mind, is always going to see kind of this separate physical being,
Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, it's
Okay. Okay.
we can't deny it.
Yeah.
But there is something that does happen
Mm-hmm.
when you do a practice,
Yeah.
when you start working with the breath,
Mm-hmm.
when you go into meditation. There is something that doesn't feel outside of you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You feel like you're in it. And I'm, I don't even quite know what the question is with this, but I've just been thinking about this a lot because I might get a little sad. My dog died a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
And they're wonderful teachers. And when he died, he was lying on top of me.
Mm-hmm.
And he looked me in the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And then he just kind of went like this and he was gone.
Mhm.
And it was so powerful because so real, so
Mhm.
physical.
Mm,
Body, I mean, you feel the body's there
mm,
and it's still warm because death is a process, but the breath is gone.
mm, mm.
So there is this feeling of continuity but that existence in that form is gone. And this is really, since this happened, and since I was thinking about you talking about this idea that it's outside of you, it
Mhm.
comes back to this idea. It's this perceptual shift we need to work on, all of us here, about this separation we feel.
See, actually, that's why the other question which cropped up about Ishvara and Purusha. So I said there is no inside without the outside. In sense, you are right. It's not outside. You are within it.
Yeah, I'm a bit tantric, so
No, no,
in
no,
my
no.
approach,
See,
yeah,
there's
yeah,
nothing tantric, especially tantric about it. It's Sankhya. We are not outside. We are
yeah.
not. Let's say if I use the word outside, I did not mean that you are outside for this outside, looking at it from the outside, you are outside. No. Of course, you are within. I wanted to say, actually, to be very clear and precise with the words, maybe I shouldn't have used the word outside,
Oh,
but
it's okay.
it is, we are embedded in it, in a larger space, in a larger grid. So the problem is when we are talking about my fear, we have sort of individualized ourselves and ourselves off as a unit. And so I'm using the word outside to say, no, you cannot look within yourself alone and say, this is me and it's my fear. You'll have to look without, you have to open your eyes and connect yourself to this outer grid. Yeah. So the grid is not outside you. Naturally, you're part of the grid. Yeah. So that way you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Thank you. Yeah, it's a powerful subject. Yeah. Uh, it's a powerful emotion and but perhaps in some sense it's very funny because in the Bhagavad Gita Krishna teaches Arjuna first 6 chapters. It's a lot about karma yoga, what to do, what not to do, how to do, etc., etc. And then it goes on another 3 chapters or so about how to develop love and how to develop reverence and bhakti, etc., etc. And suddenly Krishna says, now watch out, and transforms himself, so to say. And whatever Arjuna sees is only scary. Arjuna is, but the thing is about that sort of a fear is something fear has something like if you have fear, your eyes go like that. If you're watching a horrible horror movie or something, your eyes go like that. They really widen up. But just imagine what do you do when you look at something which is absolutely amazing and mind-blowing. It's the same open eyes. So extreme fear, extreme amazement and wonderment, they lead to the same way of opening, wanting to see what's happening. What is this? You know? So in that sense, bhakti, this sort of amazement about this grid, amazement about this universe, amazement about this nature, amazement about its vastness, amazement about how we are a huge entirety, or how I am embedded in this huge thing. It's a very a similar emotion to getting totally scared, and therefore, in Krishna's teachings in Bhagavad Gita, it's a very crucial scene. I think after that, Arjuna doesn't need any more conviction. He doesn't need, no, not conviction. Arjuna doesn't need any great teachings about what is the spiritual path. He only has to learn in the latter part about not doing too much and being sattvic. what is the basis of sattvic, how to maintain his own sattvic nature. It's mostly about that, the last part, So this is a very crucial teaching. So therefore, fear has something which it's got a very powerful spiritual role to play. Yeah. Yeah. So perhaps if there is one more question, maybe, and then we can close, Marie, or what do you say?
Yes, of course, as you like.
Can I say something?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Hi.
Hi.
Yes, so I was just thinking, following on from what Amy said and what you said at the beginning about Baya, and then about Abhyasa. So the ongoing practice and continued regular practice, and what can be a space that can open up through the stability, if that makes sense. And when you said Baya, I just had this thought about Kumbhaka and especially the BK, and how in a practice, a pranayama practice or an asana practice, sometimes the space can open up that is something that's beyond what is around us. So in terms of fear, then we can be maybe detached from any fear that we may be feeling, or any disturbing thoughts or anything that may trouble us, because in that moment we're in that space, which usually doesn't obviously last for a long time, but it's something that we can experience. And yeah.
I believe you. I believe that even the Kumbhaka has this role to play in helping our minds to really trust very deeply that the air is going to come. I should learn to wait for it. I should learn to love and trust it. So this sort of a love and trust, in contrast to having fear of the breath, we are cultivating it in that Kumbhaka space. So you're right, yeah.
Sorry, it was more a statement rather than a
question. It's good. It's good. It's a very important thought, when we are speaking about breath.
Yeah, thank you.
So we are going to close, or you?
Yeah, we can close. I think we said 1.5 hours, right?
Yes.
So if there are no further questions, we can close here.
Thank you. Thank you so very much.
Few ideas from this to sort of understand and maybe work on this subject a little more. Yeah.
Thank you to you
for inviting me to deliver this lecture. Yeah.
Before you all are leaving, I have to announce, or I would like to announce the next session next week. On Thursday, there's Anja Ortmann-Häuser speaking also in English on fear and what Ayurveda and yoga can help us in not on a very personal level. I think she's going to speak. And yes, and again, Sinai next year in August, Sriram and Anjali will be there, and the topic is yoga and emotions. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Sriram.
Thank you. Take care, all of you. Wishing you all the best. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Thank you.